Hi everyone, it's Jeannie. How are you? I hope you're well. Today I am ironing. Doesn't get more exotic than that, right? And I just thought it's a kind of a good opportunity to just do a blah, blah, blah chit chat. Specifically to some young moms out there. I've gotten a couple of emails and messages asking to just talk about being a young mom, which I am not anymore. Although two of our children just had new babies, one in May and one in August. And so we're going up not too long from now to go meet Henry, who we haven't yet met, but we've met our other grandson, Roman. And, you know, there's nothing like holding a baby, especially as a grandma. Oh, it's just the best. So I want to address a couple of things while I iron. And hopefully it's not too crashy loud. Look at this dress. I love this dress. It only needs a touch-up. It's an easy dress to wear. So I'm just going to touch up a few spots because it's been hanging up in the laundry room. Anyway, this is not any kind of medical advice in terms of postpartum depression or, things like that. Just a little advice and thoughts on it. It's so much easier to look back and have the right answers about things than when you're in the midst of it. And you can say that about anything, right? 20/20 hindsight is always so good. I wish, I can look back. And I can wish that I had done certain things differently, that I had responded differently, that I had been more patient, that I had let more things go, but that kind of isn't my nature in terms of, I have the kind of personality that I want things in order. I want things to function effectively, efficiently, and I'll tell you right now, having kids conflicts with that big time. Because sometimes things function and sometimes they don't. And every age of a child growing up is a different, incredibly different stage. It's like you know it intuitively. And you remember as a young mom growing up, you remember how you felt about your parents as a teenager, and yet you come home with this little baby and you don't have a lot of instructions. You think you know. And there are lots of books and lots of online things and lots of social media forums now. I didn't have any of that, of course, in the 70s and 80s. No, 80s. But what I do have now is age and hindsight, really good hindsight. And so I'm going to try and pass on a couple of tips. That's all. Just a couple of tips. I don't remember all the details anymore, but it doesn't matter. I don't have to. So this video is for kind of a new parent. A new parent. Sometimes it's more the mom, but sometimes the dad is in there too, getting up, doing feedings, supporting the mom through the feedings. And if you have that kind of a relationship, then that's wonderful. But not everybody does all the time. But so this is for either parent, because I think both parents get exhausted, right? And worry and stress are on both parents, not just the mom. But sometimes it is that way. Let's be real. Sometimes the traditional view is the dad goes off to work, so he needs his sleep because he's got to show up for work and do his job. And so it's up to the mom to do, the bulk of the hard day-to-day, moment-to-moment mothering, taking care of the baby. So if you have a partner, isn't this cute? That helps. Be very grateful. Be very grateful. But I've got a plate of some salami and some cheese because I'm hungry. And this is a good snack for me. Oh, good catch, Jeannie. And I've got a vanilla latte that I made. It's so good. This is a table runner. Isn't this pretty? Every young parent, every young mother, I think, wonders if she's doing enough, if you're doing enough. You compare yourself to other moms, other parents. It's easy to feel guilty about not doing enough. Feeling like everybody else has got it figured out and you don't. You've probably got the baby books on how to do it. I don't know that I read any baby books back in the 80s. I just figured I knew everything. There are lots of parenting magazines, and I think they probably address a lot of these things, but I still think a young mom compares herself to what she thinks she should be and doesn't cut herself enough slack. You get advice from relatives, and I try not to do that with my kids. It's just because every parent has a way that they've figured out that they're, a method they're going to try in terms of how they do things. And I can allow for that. That's fine, Let me put this over here. I'm going to iron some napkins. Yeah, advice from relatives. If you're older and you have a child who's had a baby, be careful about doling out advice. You want to, with your infinite wisdom of hindsight, you know. But unless you're asked, try not to do that. And because sometimes they're getting conflicting, advice. And so, just try not to come in and be the know-all. This really is a ramble. And if you can keep up, yay. Some young moms, some young parents, there's this pressure, an invisible pressure to do things perfectly. I'll do these. I'll put these right here. To get everything right. And I'm here to tell you right now, you don't. You have permission to not get it all 100% right. Because nobody does. I don't care how perfect you think somebody else's parenting is. It isn't. There is no perfect. There is no perfect. Every day is the day you do your baby. That's it. You just do your best, or even not even your best. You just get by some days. Other days you do better. It's kind of hot. I'm going to turn it down. Some days your best is mediocre. That's okay. With a new baby, especially a brand new baby, exhaustion is very, very real. And when you're exhausted, it affects everything. We can do with a night of no sleep or poor sleep, but when it's night after night after night after night, it's difficult. It affects you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It's hard to deal with exhaustion. You hardly know what day of the week it is. And now, if you've got another child at home, when you're exhausted from a new baby, you are doubly exhausted because the other child doesn't know not to be demanding. So exhaustion is real. You may be crying over tiny little things. Everything just gets to you because you're weakened right now. You're in a weaker state emotionally. You're fragile. You're thin. You wonder if you'll ever sleep again, like all night long. You will. You will. Sleep will return. And then the teenagers take it back away from you a little bit. Somebody told me a long time ago, little children, little problems. And to a large degree, that is true. All things being normal, all things being, I'm not talking about health situations or anything like that, but little children, little problems, they're in your control right now. They're in your care right now. When they're older, it's a big world out there, and things get bigger, as we know. The problems can be bigger than just a colicky baby that doesn't sleep. Everything feels bigger and more intense when you're exhausted. And by the same token, everything can feel more deadened, like you're less alive. I remember that feeling. You just feel like a zombie, like you're less alive. You're deadened. Some of your senses just are not. It's like you just don't care. You just don't care. That's exhaustion. Accept that. It's just exhaustion. That's not who you are. And it's temporary. It's temporary. And what you need are little victories. Little victories like taking a warm shower. That feeling of just the water washing over you. You're getting clean. You have a few moments in the shower alone. Count that as a victory. Drinking coffee while it's still hot. If you drink coffee or tea or whatever, count that as a victory. It's a win. Your victory may not be that the baby sleeps through the night for a while. It may not be that. So let's count little victories that can happen. Getting a basket of laundry folded. Now, I'm going to give you some thoughts about laundry. When you have children, let's say you've got a baby or maybe more, I think one of the most overwhelming feelings is when your laundry is piling up and turning into mounds. It feels overwhelming. And then you get a load in the washer and you get a load in the dryer, and then it goes to a basket and sits there. Here is my personal advice on that, and it's something I've kind of done for a long, long time. So I do lots of little loads. I don't wait until I've got even a full load. Shh. I may have a half a load. Do it, and when you put it into the dryer and it comes out, immediately fold it. Don't even put it into a basket. And of course, this is all time permitting. I get that. But if you can do smaller loads more often, a small load in the morning and a small load in the evening, and fold those right away. Don't let them sit in a basket. Fold them as you take them out of the dryer. That may or may not help you. It helped me. It helped me feel a little bit of control over my day. And I still, to this day, do that. I never have a laundry basket full of clothes that need to be folded and then put away. I don't like wrinkles. I have more luxury now than I did raising kids. I didn't iron if I didn't have to, unless it was absolutely a dress for a wedding or something like that. That is a little victory right there. It sounds like it's more work. Let it all gather up and do one big load. And if that's what you do and it works, that's great. But for me, just getting these little loads done helped. because a basket of unfolded laundry weighed on me. I knew it was wrinkling. I knew it was going to look bad. And, you know, it just weighed on me. I love peppered salami. Oh, I love it so much. You know, I think one of the things that helps as well, another little pro tip, is managing your expectations of what your house should look like, of what your, kitchen should look like, in terms of having all your dishes clean and put away, all the laundry done, folded and put away, the house picked up, toys picked up. Sometimes it ain't that way. So manage your expectations. It's okay for it not to be. No one walks into a new parent's house, and if they do, they should be clubbed over their knees, and judges them for having, toys and laundry and dishes and a mess. Nobody judges you for that. Yeah. Nobody cares if you're disorganized. Organization can come later. And I'll tell you the most important part. Your baby won't remember if the dishes were done, if the laundry was folded, if the toys were picked up. They don't remember those things. And ultimately, you really don't either. What you remember are the moments, maybe just holding your baby, sleeping when they sleep, comforting your baby. That's what they're going to remember, is that they felt safe, that they felt loved. The house doesn't matter. At some point you got to do your dishes, but also to accept help. Accept help. If somebody says, "What can I do for you?" Maybe it's not a meal they need to bring. Maybe it's, "Can you come and wash the dishes or load the dishwasher or unload the dishwasher and vacuum? Can you do those two things for me?" Don't be afraid to ask. Personally, if somebody said to me, whether it was one of my kids or even just another person, "Hey, I'm not up to par. Can you come help me clean my house?" I would be more than happy to. Absolutely. So when you're feeling overwhelmed by a particular thing and you can identify 2 or 3 things that someone else could do and there is someone to ask, ask. You are not weak. You are not weak by asking for help or accepting help. I think remembering that it's all temporary, the overwhelm, the sense of overwhelm, the exhaustion, the feeling low. You see I remember this. You see those commercials of the mom and she's just smiling and she looks so pretty and she's holding this perfect little baby and she's in this absolute bliss looking at that little perfect baby and she looks perfect. In the 80s, we had a lot of that. It's like, oh, how come I'm not looking like that or feeling like that? Right? Sometimes you don't feel it. Yes, you love them. You love that little creature. Yes. But sometimes it's just like, oh, you look like a, you look like a tired, woman. And I was going to say a hag, but I don't mean it that way. Although that's what I felt like a tired hag sometimes. And then there are other days where you look at them and it's just, that love and feeling is everything. It's everything. You look at their little faces, their little noses, their little fingers and feet and toes, and their little dimples, and all those things. And none of this stuff matters. That you're tired and exhausted and the house is a tip. So it really is about managing your expectations. Your expectations of what you think this perfection should be. It doesn't exist. Well, maybe it does, but I don't know anybody who it existed that way for. If somebody wants to bring you a meal, accept it. Make sure it's in either disposable or non-returnable pans. I still kind of try to live by that, because trying to get somebody's dish back to them, I let people know if I'm taking something home from their house and they, like Joni, she'll put it in a Tupperware thing, I'll let her know, you're not getting this back. Once I take it, it's mine, because I can't keep track. So that's why you invest in that cheap, stuff, right? So if you're going to accept a meal from somebody, make sure that they know to put it in something that doesn't have to be washed and returned. And today you have so many choices for things like that. You know what? Let somebody come and hold the baby. I held my little grandson a week or so ago. I held him for almost 3 hours. He had just been fed, and I just held him, and I did some things, but mostly just sat and rocked in different chairs. And my daughter was able to get some stuff done. And that was her time to not have him in her arms. And that's okay. Let somebody else hold the baby for a while. Children remember mostly all the good things. I know when I think back to my childhood, I remember my house and I remember things, but I remember good things, and I choose to focus on the good things. If I wanted to, I could focus on the handful of times, and it was a handful, that my parents had an argument. It was rare, but sometimes they did. And I remember one night, I woke up because they were fighting, arguing. Not fighting, but arguing. And I could focus on that as a traumatic event. Being older now, I realize they're just human. My dad did something to make my mom mad, I don't know what, but it doesn't matter. I look at the love. I look at the story times we had, at the times we sang together. My dad sang. My mom was tone deaf. She was as tone deaf could be. And so my father Oh, he had a beautiful voice. He had a beautiful voice. And we would sing, and he'd teach me songs, and he would teach me harmonies to those songs. It was wonderful. I don't remember the house, the mess, the stress, the fact that they didn't know which bill to pay because there was only enough money to pay one. They didn't put that on me. They didn't stress us kids out with that. And remember, if you do have more than one child, you're going to need a lot of extra patience and extra help if you can get it. But remember, in trying to be nice, sometimes I think the structure that is needed may lack. And children need structure and boundaries. They need to know what is and isn't acceptable in the best way you can. It's nice if you can do it patiently and quietly, but kids are great at testing you and pushing you, the other kids, if you have a baby, and suddenly there's this new world, this new life, and they're not number one anymore. And, they adjust. But, maintaining structure in the house and boundaries, it's okay. It's okay. And I think it makes them feel safer to know, I cannot get away with that just because mommy's tired, or just because I want it, or challenging daddy because he's the one in charge, and mommy always, gives in. It's the first couple of weeks are challenging, but remember, it's okay to enforce structure and boundaries and limits, and because I think kids ultimately do want that. I remember, and this is even as an older teen, when I was doing things with my friends and they were able to do things that I wasn't able to do, like going on a trip or something like that. And I begged and begged and begged. I wanted to go. I wanted to do this thing, whatever. Looking back with a little bit of wisdom and higher knowledge, I'm actually quite glad that my parents said no to things. As much as I was fighting the moment to be allowed to be as free as I wanted to be, I actually appreciated the limits, because they're like walls of safety. My home was my safe place. When I was out and about with friends, it didn't take much for someone to do something dumb. Teenagers, right? And I knew I was lucky that we had a good group of kids, but still people did dumb things back then. All teenagers do. All teenagers do. So I appreciated knowing that I had a safe place, a safe home, structure and boundaries. And safety for me meant a lot. It really meant a lot. Even though we had some screaming matches, me fighting for more freedom, a later curfew, things like that. But looking back, I remember thinking, I'm kind of glad I have to be home at this hour, because the world is a big, scary place. It is. It's a big, scary place. And it's easy for trouble to find you. Somebody said once, now, here I am jumping to older kids, right? Someone said once, nothing good, nothing productive happens after midnight. Being out after midnight. And if that isn't the truth, that is the truth. Oh my goodness. So, my curfew was 11 o'clock. So, my older brother Brian, his was later. And it was so unfair. Boy, did I fight that. Boy, did I fight that. But my dad, his opinion was, you're a girl. It's different. Okay. And looking back, I get it. I do get it. And I appreciate that. He did his best to keep me safe and protected. I fought it because I think that's the job of a teenager, is to push and fight. And it's the job of a parent to hold firm. Some things you can give in on, but you know in your gut what is right. And gosh, if they don't try to wear you down. Oh, goodness, I remember going from parent to parent, trying to wear them down. Mom told me to ask you. So I remember 50 years later, from being a teenager, I remember the loving structure. I don't remember a clean house. I don't remember a dirty house. I don't, that's not what sticks out in my mind. And it probably doesn't stick out in your mind either. Perfect meals, the perfect house, perfect yard. Those things, they are not important. They can be, I get it. But it isn't primary each and every day. So what I would say, here comes my real sage advice, is if you're in, say, your 20s or 30s and you've got a new baby, and you're feeling exhausted and stressed and dull and deadened and just overwhelmed, here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Imagine yourself being 50 years older, okay? You're now in your 70s, maybe 40 years older, you're in your 60s or 70s, and you're looking back and you see yourself. What are your words of advice to yourself? What are you going to tell your younger self? I wish I had done that when I was a young mom. I remember feeling so alone at times and so exhausted and just so overwhelmed, and I didn't feel like I could talk to anybody about that. It was hard to put into words how I felt. But it passes. It does pass. It's temporary. So that's my older self looking back to my younger self. And right now, I have age and experience to be able to give that advice. I didn't have it then. Do I wish I had done things differently? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That comes with life. I wish I had been more patient. I wish I had been calmer at times. Sometimes I just felt like everything was needing me and I was being pulled in 20 different directions. I didn't know how to let certain things go. I would tell myself those things didn't matter. You aren't alone. You are not alone. And you don't have to know everything. God, there's so much information out there. Are we spoiled or what? If we have a question, quick, I'll Google it. Quick, I'll ask chat or whatever thing that, we have information immediately at the tip of our fingers. What year did this happen? Boom, you know it. But none of that intelligence can help you sometimes get through the moment. That's something that you just have to get through with as much grace for yourself. An airplane. Grace and patience and tenderness with yourself. Ease up on yourself. Give yourself some slack. Just allow how you feel to be okay. You'll make mistakes. Hopefully, they aren't thrown in your face by anyone. Typically, they aren't. But you're just doing your best to get by one day at a time, one ordinary day at a time. That's all it is. That's all it is one day at a time. If you're feeling really down and low and exhausted and crappy today, tomorrow could be a great new day. You could feel wonderful tomorrow. You could feel slightly better tomorrow. You could feel worse tomorrow. We don't know. But you get by one day at a time and you allow. Remember, the branch that bends does not break. So you need to bend and sway with things. Allow. Allow. Allow how you feel to be okay. That's the tenderness and gentleness and grace that I'm talking about giving yourself. You know, there is postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety. Those are real things. And it's more than just exhaustion. It could become chronic. And if your sadness feels overwhelming, and I think you have to listen to your higher self to know that. You know how we all have a higher self that kind of is objective and just kind of watching, you know? It's like the watcher. Or if you're feeling to that point where you feel like you're disappearing, where it's beyond overwhelming and you're frightened, you need to talk to someone, because you deserve help. Your baby, your child deserves help. And if you're in a place where you can't help yourself, you need someone else to help you. I think doctors today, OBGYNs and pediatricians, there's much more out there now in terms of support. and remembering you're not alone. You are far from alone. I think there are far more women that experience postpartum anxiety and or depression than people admit. You know, we used to, in my day, it was called the baby blues, that you just had a slump of hormones. And it's true, you have these, crazy things going on in your body, admit it, right? You just had a baby, your body did this miraculous thing. You were turned, in a sense, inside out in so many ways. It's okay that you feel wonky, okay? But if it's more than what you can deal with, you need to ask for help. The pediatrician, your OBGYN, your GP, okay? Because you deserve that help. And your baby deserves it. One day, the crib is going to be empty. They will not be in diapers. All the diapers are gone. The toys are gone. There are no little shoes lying about. There are no little clothes to fold and put away. And those squirrely little people that kept you awake all night, they just called to say, "Hey, Mom, what are you doing? What are you up to?" They're humans, they're adults. "Hey, Mom, what do you think about this? Hey, Mom, my heart is broken." Sometimes they don't say it just like that, but yeah, the world, the big world is out there where laundry and dishes and housework mean nothing. Nothing. Keep that in perspective. Sometimes it feels endless, that exhaustion. But it isn't. It isn't. It's actually quite a short season. Very short. Shorter than you think. So, I'm almost done with this. What I want to leave you with is this. Your children, your child, doesn't need a perfect mother or perfect parent. They need you. And you are more than enough. There will always be moments that you question yourself. You'll question your decisions. You'll question everything. Everything. Have I done this right? Is this the right decision? That's normal. That's normal. Most of the things we worry about never come to transpire. And worrying about them doesn't change it anyway. So, relax, relax, relax. Be gentle with yourself. I want to see what I'm ironing. Can you see that? Is that cool or what? It's a backdrop. So, life passes us by faster than we ever expect. One day, you're a tired young parent, and then in the blink of an eye, your kids are in school, and then high school, maybe college, working, boyfriends and girlfriends, their own hearts getting broken, and you unable to do anything except love them and offer comfort and words of support. And then someday, they may have a baby, and you're looking back and trying to ease their worries and pressures a little bit. But it all passes so quickly. The seasons of life truly do just come at you quickly before you even know it. So find little moments, find little wins, find little victories in each day, if you can, no matter how small. Even if it's that hot cup of coffee or that shower. So, I'm going to sign off. Be gentle with yourself. Be easy with yourself. Relax, relax, relax. When your baby sleeps, you sleep. Sleep when you can. You know, I have a lot of moms who put on my blah, blah, blah for the baby, for the quiet, comforting tones of somebody talking. My videos, for the most part, maybe not the Countess, but for the most part, put on my voice for them, for you both to sleep to rest to. My superpower is boring people to sleep. Okay, my friends, my young moms, my young dads, my young parents. I'm gonna sign off. I got all my ironing done, just a few things. Ironing isn't one of my favorite things to do, but once I'm doing it, I kind of zen, get in the zen mode. Okay. I hope this helped. It was a long ramble, kind of unplanned, just kind of off the cuff, but I hope it helped. I'm sending you my very best. From Baba Nini to you. All right. Take care, my friends. I'll see you very soon in the next video. Goodbye for now.